Welcome back to another explainer. Today, we are unpacking a seriously unusual, frankly dramatic release cycle from Anthropic. We're looking at a piece of technology that was fundamentally meant to change everything: how we interact with machines, how we write code, literally how we cure diseases. But instead, it almost immediately triggered an unprecedented reaction from the federal government.
Okay, let's dive into this massive piece of news that hit just days after these models were launched to the world. Picture this. On June 9th, 2026, Anthropic drops its highly anticipated Mythos-class models. Huge deal, right? But then, by June 12th, we're talking a mere 3 days later, they had to update their announcement with a pretty startling notice. The US government actually issued an export control directive requiring Anthropic to suspend all access to both Claude Fable 5 and Claude Mythos 5.
So you have to ask yourself, what on earth makes an AI so powerful that the government feels the need to step in and shut the whole thing down? To understand this really unprecedented government intervention, we need to flash back and look at exactly what these AI systems are actually capable of. We aren't just talking about a chatbot that helps you write slightly better emails anymore. We're looking at a system that operates with a level of autonomy and scientific reasoning that genuinely blurs the line between a digital assistant and, well, a senior research scientist. Let's move into Section 1, the tale of two models, Fable 5 and Mythos 5. Let's start with the basics here. Anthropic actually released two distinct versions of this groundbreaking model, and each was designed for a completely different level of access. So the absolute crucial point to understand is that while both models share the exact same underlying intelligence, the same brain basically, Fable 5 has strict guardrails, whereas Mythos 5 is the unrestricted raw model. Fable 5 was the one you and I could access. It was tuned conservatively to catch harmful requests. Mythos 5, on the other hand, had those safety nets completely lifted in critical areas like cybersecurity. Anthropic initially deployed Mythos 5 through a program called Project Glasswing, exclusively partnering with the US government and a very tiny circle of critical infrastructure providers. All right, Section 2, Fable 5's revolutionary capabilities. 50 million lines of code. Fable 5 successfully migrated this massive Ruby codebase at Stripe in a single day. Just think about that for a second. According to Stripe, that exact same codebase migration would have taken a dedicated human engineering team over 2 full months to complete by hand. Fable 5 literally compressed months of grueling, highly technical engineering into a matter of hours.
And, the industry took notice immediately. Executives from companies like GitHub are pointing to a future where highly autonomous AI agents are fully trusted across the entire software lifecycle. They aren't just writing little snippets of code anymore. These models are actually understanding what builders mean, which opens up a whole new class of long-horizon problems that were previously completely out of reach.
But it isn't just text and code. Fable 5's vision capabilities are so advanced that, get this, it literally beat the game Pokemon Fire Red using nothing but raw visual pixels. I mean, previous models needed complex helper harnesses or extra background data just to navigate the map, but Fable 5 just looked at the screen and played the game from start to finish. In the professional world, this translates to rebuilding an entire web app's source code just by looking at screenshots or pulling extremely precise, complex data directly out of dense scientific charts.
And this brilliantly illustrates how Fable 5 utilizes long-term persistent memory to strategize and succeed at really complex long-running tasks. In tests with the deck-building strategy game Slay the Spire, when they gave it access to persistent file-based memory, Fable 5 actually read its own notes, adjusted its strategies on the fly, and reached the final act 3 times more often than Anthropic's previous flagship, Opus 4.8. It actually learns from its own process.
Which brings us to Section 3, the unrestricted Mythos 5. Now, let's see what happens when we take the training wheels off, lift those safety guardrails, and unleash Mythos 5, particularly in the realm of life sciences. Operating autonomously for over a week, Mythos 5 conducted novel genomics research that actually outperformed a model published in the prestigious journal Science, and it did that despite its custom AI model being 100 times smaller. Internal protein design experts found that Mythos 5 accelerated the drug design process by 10 times, executing highly complex bioinformatic tools entirely on its own, and even recovering from its own failures without any human intervention whatsoever.
The quality of this work is just astounding. In blinded head-to-head tests, actual real-world scientists prefer the novel molecular biology hypotheses generated by Mythos 5 a staggering 80% of the time.
It is producing truly novel, senior scientist-grade theories. In one specific case, it posited a novel mechanism for an E. coli protein that was later independently corroborated by a real-world lab working on that exact same problem. However, the ability to predict the assembly of viral shells for gene therapy also highlights a downright terrifying dual-use risk. Mythos-5 outperformed sophisticated models dedicated specifically to protein tasks, using just its innate biological reasoning. But in the wrong hands, that exact same biological reasoning could be used to design dangerous viruses. That right there is the crux of the problem. So let's talk about Section 4, Building Advanced Safeguards. Because of these terrifying dual-use risks in biology and cybersecurity, Anthropic had to construct an intricate safety net before they could even attempt a public release of Fable 5. The primary goal of these safeguards is to prevent what the industry calls uplift. Uplift is basically the danger of the AI giving a bad actor the missing piece of the puzzle, specific knowledge or strategic planning that they couldn't just Google. The goal here is ensuring that hackers or malicious actors absolutely cannot use the AI as an advanced autonomous weapon. To achieve this safely, Anthropic didn't just hard-code some generic refusal message. They built a multi-step classifier system. Think of these classifiers as separate AI security guards or bouncers. When a user asks a question, these guards scan the prompt for cyber, bio, or model distillation risks. If a risk is detected, the highly potent Fable 5 is immediately blocked. But instead of just throwing an error message, the request gracefully falls back to the older, much less risky Opus 4.8 model. Now, you might be wondering if this ruins the experience for the average user looking to, say, summarize a PDF or write some standard code. Well, the good news is Anthropic's data shows 95% of Fable 5 sessions trigger no safeguards at all. That means for the vast majority of harmless tasks, you get the full, unbridled power of the Mythos-class model without any friction. The safety system is highly targeted. And this robust classifier system means Fable 5 is incredibly resistant to jailbreaking. In rigorous testing, it stopped automated red teamers dead in their tracks during offensive cyber task evaluations. Even when subjected to 30 different public jailbreak techniques, Fable 5 complied with absolutely zero harmful single-turn requests related to planning cyber attacks or developing exploits. It just didn't budge. Furthermore, to continuously defend against these sophisticated, evolving attacks, Anthropic instituted a strict 30-day data retention policy for business customers on these Mythos-class models. Now, importantly, this data is purely for safety monitoring. It is absolutely not used to train new AI models. It exists strictly so Anthropic's security teams can identify and patch complex, multi-step jailbreaks, with all human access to this data heavily logged for privacy. Finally, let's look at Section 5. The future of frontier AI. Despite the current abrupt government suspension we talked about at the start, Anthropic's documentation shows a clear and really ambitious roadmap for how they intend to deploy these powerful systems in the long run. Their ultimate goal is to get these highly restricted, safeguards-lifted models into the hands of trusted experts. They plan to steadily expand Project Glasswing for top-tier cyber defenders, and they were preparing to open a specialized trusted access program for biomedical researchers to accelerate disease therapeutics without the friction of the biology safety classifiers constantly getting in the way. Which leaves us with this final thought. As these systems become capable of immense good, like mapping the biology of 138 animal species, and profound harm, like autonomously discovering software 0 days, how do we strike the perfect balance between innovation and global security? Fable 5 and Mythos 5 show us that the AI future isn't just about getting smarter, it's about how tightly we can control that intelligence before it controls us. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and I'll see you in the next one.